On today's episode, I talk about how Ivica Zubac fits with the team offensively, what he's going to bring on the defensive end of the floor, where I think he's going to make his biggest impact. And then I want to talk about the draft pick and the protections and what can happen with that potentially. Then I also want to end the episode on remembering Benn Mathurin and just reflecting on his time here slightly and just saying farewell. All coming up next on the Pacer Pulse podcast. What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome to the Pacer Pulse podcast, the heartbeat of Indiana basketball. I'm your host, Sean Trader, and today, guys, I wanted to dive into how I believe Zubac will fit with this team. I know that right now there's a little bit of questions on, is he going to be able to fit the style of play the Pacers play? I've heard this from numerous media outlets. They talk about how the Pacers like to play fast, which of course we do, especially when Haliburton's out there. So they're thinking, how is Zubac going to fit in that kind of style of play? He seems to be kind of more of a slower center, can't stretch the floor or whatnot, but I don't want to focus on the things that he can't necessarily do, and I think he can play fast in a faster system. Clearly, the team believes that as well, or we wouldn't have traded all these assets that we did to get Zubac. So I don't think that's in question, but I do want to touch on some of the things offensively that he's going to bring to the team, and then defensively as well. But I want to start on the offensive end. But I'll start with his overall stats for the year so far. So right now, he's averaging 14 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists on about 61% shooting from the field. So pretty solid stats, double-double, of course. Haven't had that in an extremely long time since Sabonis was on the team, and obviously Haliburton, though, but I'm talking as a big man. Last time we had that was Sabonis, and then even before Sabonis, when was the last time we had a big man average a double-double? So we probably have to go pretty far back to really find a big man that could do that. But just the fact that he's playing 31 minutes a game too so far, so he plays a lot of minutes, and he's a pretty durable guy. He usually plays quite a bit of games each year. And I even heard it on the Setting the Pace podcast where he had a Clippers guy on, Clippers Talk, I think, from Clippers Talk, and he was saying how Zubac is he very much plays through injuries and stuff because he doesn't want to miss games and whatnot, so you could say either that's a flaw or a good thing, but he's always trying to do what he can to stay on the court. So the fact that we could rely on him to play 31 minutes a game is pretty huge, considering our backup big is going to be Jay Huff pretty much, and Micah Potter as of right now. Who knows if we ever do anything to shore that up, but I like having that optionality with Huff off the bench. And then we have Obi Toppin too, who can play small ball 5. But so averaging 14.4 points a game, and if you go off last year even, he was up to 17 points a game, close to 12 to 13 rebounds. Clearly his best season of his entire career. So I'll even go off some of those stats too, because it may paint a better picture of what kind of Zubac we could get, especially playing next to Haliburton, because we know the Clippers this year have been kind of a huge mess. I know they've won a ton of games and whatnot to kind of get to where they are in the standings right now, but it doesn't mean that they've had all this continuity and whatnot that they had last year, where they were such a rising team and people thought they were going to be such a threat in the playoffs, and Zubac was a borderline All-NBA player, which rightfully so he was. But I think those are going to be some interesting numbers to kind of go into as well, because I'll touch on what he's doing this year, but last year I think will paint a better picture of the Zubac that I think we're going to get, even though I do think he's playing well this year as well. But I want to start off Zubac. So clearly, he can't shoot threes. I mean, I think he shot 1 3 in his entire career. Maybe it's something that he does have that we don't necessarily know yet, and I'm sure we'll evaluate that when he comes to our team, and maybe we'll give him a little bit of a leash to try to shoot a 3 or 2 a game. I don't know. We'll have to see on that end, Pacer Nation. But so we know he's not a floor spacer. So that's obviously going to be a big talking point, I'm sure, with people within the fan base. But just because that's what worked with Miles before doesn't mean that's the only thing that can work. So Zubac, he is a very, very good screen setter, guys. And I think that's understated how important that is in the NBA too. With the NBA, where I know we run a bunch of different actions, but the NBA is very much so a pick and roll league a lot too. And obviously we saw that a couple years ago with Miles and Haliburton, where they were the best pick and roll tandem in the league that year. Well, last year, James Harden and Ivica Zubac was the best pick and roll tandem in the league. And you could clearly see why. Obviously, he's a huge guy, but he's such good good screens where it allows James Harden, at least for last year, it allowed James Harden to drive into the paint, either get to the rim or be able to kick it out to an open shooter or be able to just dump it off to Zubac or lob it into him because Zubac is such a threatening roll man to the rim. So you have to be cognizant of that, but it just gives you three different options that you can always kind of go to because they underestimate how important a good screen is to really set up the entire offensive system as a whole. Like depending on the play you're running, it's very important. And just the fact that we saw that with like Haliburton last year, I think, where he wasn't able to get to the rim as much as you think he could. There would be times where he would pass it out at like the end whenever he get closer to the rim where he thought he had a shot, but there was always kind of defenders nearby where I think with Zubac, he's going to really be able to open things up in that regard where he's going to allow Haliburton so much more room to like get to the rim, be able to be his man and just have those like advantages in that sense to where that's something that Miles was never good at, guys. Like with Miles, obviously because he was a center Haliburton worked with this entire time. Miles was not a good screen setter. He was just obviously just a pop center, maybe like a mid-roll type of center that's going to shoot that mid-range shot sometimes. But that's pretty much what Miles was in the offensive end, and sometimes a post finisher every now and then. But with Zubac, he's going to create so many more opportunities, like I say, with that pick and roll. The lob threat opportunity like Haliburton's going to be able to have with Zubac is nothing he's ever had with this team so far because Miles wasn't catching lobs like that. Isaiah Jackson's been hurt, so we never really had any like lob threat out there. So Zubac is clearly a lob threat, even a guy you can just dump off into. He's going to finish strong inside, take contact as well. He's very good at that too. He's very good also just finishing with hooks, like his left-handed hook, his right-handed hook. And then another aspect of his offensive game that I think is interesting is it gives us another element because outside of Siakam, we don't have any post presence. You know, somebody that can score in the post. And I know that's not something that's so predominant in the NBA nowadays, but it gives you optionality. And I'm not saying we got to feed Zubac in the post, or however many times a game, a bunch of times a game. But it's awesome that you're able to like throw it down to Zubac. He's going to be able to back his man down low and give you a nice finish with his left hand or a nice right hook. He's able to finish with both hands, and they're very nice hook shots too. That he finishes at a strong clip. So it just gives you another nice like dimension to your offense in case if you ever need to go to something that you need a bucket, and if he's got a good mismatch, he's going to be able to take advantage of that, I think. And there's not many centers in the league that match his size. And I don't mean just his height, but like his overall just bulk and like just size as a human being. Like he's just a massive dude. So he's able to take advantage of a lot of those opportunities, and he's such a good strong finisher inside where it's just one of those classic like bruiser style bigs that we haven't had in I don't know how long. I mean, you can count Sabonis as that too. It's just kind of different, of course, because Zubac, I think he's even like almost stronger than Sabonis, obviously bigger. So I think it's a little different in that regard, but somewhat similar to that. But he's going to be able to play through contact a lot, guys. And like I said, just give us another option in the post if we ever need like an easy bucket or somebody that he can at least draw the foul. Or what he's also good at too is when he's in the post and when the defense collapses on him, he's very good about being able to find the open man for an open three, or even if it's somebody just cutting, he's able to like pass them open or like hit the man on the cut for a finish or at least for a foul or something like that. So he's shown that ability too to be able to make the right pass and right read even when a double comes in the post or the defense shifts or anything like that. He's been very good about making those reads. And I don't think he's really been talked about as like, oh, he's like some fantastic playmaker, which I think he's not passing guys open, but he knows how to make the right reads. And he knows how to, oh, a double's coming, I can pass it to this guy. He's going to be open for a three. Just making the right plays. And I think that's highly valuable in a sense where it's not something like Miles did get better at that throughout his tenure with us a little bit, especially later on. Like he got better at it, but I do think like Zubac is even better than Miles at it. So I do think he's an upgrade in that regard too. And then even outside of just rolling to the rim, finishing lobs or finishing like dump off passes inside or whatever you have it, hook shots, I think Zubac is also very good in the short roll. So it just adds another element too where he's able to get a pass in the short roll and either make a pass to a cutting guy that's cutting to the rim underneath on the baseline, or he's able to pass it to the wing or for an open three, or just there's so many different other actions that it could go, or he can just go in and hit a teardrop or a hook shot and just kind of work in the mid post area too. In that regard, I don't think he's really a mid range shooter or nothing like that, but I mean he can hit a little floater or a hook shot from a little inside that range too. But just the fact that he has some of that passing instinct too inside, where he's able to hit a cutter or able to hit a hook shot inside. Just from the highlights I was watching earlier, it was very impressive to see. And obviously it's highlights, but and I'm sure he makes mistakes. I'm sure he's going to have his head scratching plays, just like any player does have, of course. But it was encouraging to see, and it adds a few different elements and like dimensions to our offense. And I do think he's going to be able to be a guy that's able to keep the ball moving in the way that we like to do, the quick actions that we're good at, like that we like to do dribble handoffs, different things like that, where we keep the offensive flowing and just the defense on their toes. I think he's going to be very good in that respect too. But I also think that we will shift our style a little bit, because with Haliburton coming off his injury, you never know if maybe they want to kind of slow it down just a tad, just a little bit, because you don't want to risk Haliburton getting hurt again, of course. So maybe you try to ease that load, and maybe they realize we were putting a lot of miles on these guys because of the way we were playing, which I don't think we're going to ever like veer away from that completely. That's not what I mean, but maybe just slow it down a little bit just for Haliburton to kind of get his legs back under him. And it gives you at least different optionalities, of course. And I think he allows us to play in the half court a lot better too. Just gives an option inside, a lob threat. Obviously, like he's not going to open up the floor, but we have Siakam now who can stretch it from three. I don't think it's going to matter. And Siakam's even played against other, like with guys, I mean, that weren't floor spacers, where he was an all-star in those seasons too, and just with like Jakob Poeltl and different games like, or guys like that. So I don't think that's like a major issue, where I think Siakam's still going to be able to get his, even with Zubac down low. And Siakam's became like a tremendous three-point shooter since joining our team, so that's a huge difference as well. So I don't think that's an issue either. But I just wanted to point out a lot of different things that I think he's going to be able to provide for this team. So I don't want us to ever like just focus on the negatives of like he's just not a floor spacer, because yeah, I mean, I get it. That's what Miles was able to do, and I'll definitely tip my hat off to Miles. He was good at that. And even if like teams would leave Miles open sometimes from three because they're like, hey, if Miles Turner is going to beat us from three, we'll take it. It at least did. The guys that were defending him had to at least somewhat guard him out there. So it did like open up the floor quite a bit. But I do think Zubac is going to be able to do the same thing, just not with a three-point shot. He's going to be able to do with his screening, with his mid-roll passing, and just other elements in this game where he could pass it out of the post a lot better than what Miles could do before. And like I said, Miles did improve. But all in all, just I'm comparing Miles to you guys because this is clearly who we've had as our center for the past 10 plus, or outside of Sabonis, but with Haliburton this entire time. So that's why I'm kind of using him as a comparison. But I just think that he's going to provide like quite a bit, guys, on the offensive end. Is he going to get out in transition, finishing fast break layups? No. But was Miles doing that last year? No, he was not doing that. He was usually, if he was ever involved on a fast break, it was just, he's kind of like one of the last guys that comes in and gets a three-point shot at the top of the key, guys. I mean, it's not like Miles was like running fast breaks like Siakam and whatnot. That was never happening. So I don't think we're ever going to expect that from Zubac. Yeah, he's not going to hit like a trailing three, but I think they'll figure that part out where it's like, well, he provides like way too much in other areas of the game. And one aspect I haven't even touched on yet is his offensive rebound. He is a tremendous offensive rebounder. So I'll get into some of the advanced numbers here. So if you guys have heard this podcast before, I like to use Cleaning the Glass. It's a stat keeping website where they take out our garbage time and meaningless time and possessions, and they only use like meaningful minutes and time in the game, which I like a lot too. But they also have very good advanced on-off numbers, and it just shows the player's overall impact on the team when he's on the court versus when he's off. So if I'm going off this year, and I'll go off some of his last year numbers too, because I do think that's a little more telling of the type of guy we'll get next to Haliburton. So this year, he does help the team score more points, or about dead even. So the team is pretty even on the offensive end. They're not outscoring teams as much, but they're not giving up as many points, if you get what I'm saying. So they're still like 50. And the effective field goal percentage, too, they shoot about evenly when he's on the court compared to when he's off, so it's not any better or worse. But this is where the number really stands out. So Zubac, he's in the 93 third percentile in the NBA in terms of offensive rebounds that the team gets when he's on the court. So if you guys have watched the Pacers at all this year, we are horribly bad at offensive rebounding. So just the fact that like this guy could come in and easily, I think he averages 3 offensive rebounds a game this year, which is a really good number, guys. So he's averaging like 7 defensive rebounds a game this year, which is great too. So at least 3 or 4, that's at least 3 or 4 second chance opportunities. So let's say we hit a 3-point shot on all those. That's extra 9 to 12 points each game, guys. And that could literally determine, I don't know, 10 games in a season. I mean, think about all the close games that there is throughout the season. I know there's a lot more minutia to it all. It's not just that black and white. But if you think about it in that terms, we're getting an opportunity to get 9 to 12 extra points a game just off his offensive rebounds alone. So that's easily going to be one of his biggest attributes on this team as well. And it's just, I think they've even wanted to make it a more point of emphasis because there's been games where we've been a lot better at it. It's just certain teams we don't stand a chance. Kind of like the Rockets where they just obliterate us on the boards, especially offensively too, which I know that's a lot of that is defensive rebounding, but we can't even hold our own on the offensive end trying to get our own misses. So he's going to provide a lot of second chance opportunities as well, I think, at least 3 or 4 a game, I would say. So just having that extra element on the offensive end is going to be huge. But when I go over like his advanced on-off numbers from last year, he was in the 94th percentile, guys, of like the team would score 8 extra points per 100 possessions when he's on the court, essentially. So they were that much better of an offensive team. So that's very elite number, 94th percentile. And then the team was shooting 5.1% percentage points better from the field when he was on the court last year. That's in the 98th percentile. That is highly elite. And then even the offensive rebounding was 2.7% more. So like the 80th percentile even last year. And he's even improved that more this year. Even if the offensive end, the team's been kind of funky, guys. So this isn't like the end all be all, like, oh, this definitely tells how good a player is sort of stats, but it paints a picture of how impactful he can be on the offensive end of the floor and what he can really bring to this team. And like I said, if you go off like last year's numbers where he was all NBA level almost, he was phenomenal, guys. Like, there's a reason why he was that close to being all NBA. And that a lot of these numbers, especially these advanced on-off numbers, explain a lot of it. So that's the offensive end of the floor, guys. So now I want to talk about the defensive end because that's where I think I see his biggest impact is going to be. So if you guys have watched the Pacers this year, we have been terrible about allowing teams to just score so many points in the paint against us, guys. It's really bad. We always get beat in that category where we always get outscored in the paint. Obviously, paint points are the easiest points. We can't always just live and die by the 3 or the mid-range shot. Even in the high post area-ish, like all the way up to that kind of in the paint. Those are all better shots, I would say, than 3-point shots, even though statistically the way the league's trended, it's more threes, whatever you want to say. It still matters getting easy shots. So the fact that we give up that many easy points to teams every single night, the fact that you guys already know we get out-rebounded just about every game, that's been a problem for basically our entire tenure here since Sabonis, in which I don't even remember fully when Sabonis was here, if we were always winning the rebounding battles. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't know. But it's going to help a lot in that regard because Zubac is a great rebounder. He's going to corral, like I said, at least 7 to 8 defensive rebounds a game, guys. So imagine he's going to add that, but then it's not even just that. He's going to be able to block out guys that would crash the glass. He's going to prevent a lot of offensive rebounding as well because of his blocking out and being a huge person, a huge human being. He's going to keep other guys from being able to flow in. So even if it's not just him always getting the rebound, other teammates are going to have easier opportunities of getting rebounds because he's going to be able to block guys out, hold guys off in the paint to where they're not just flying in for easy second chance opportunity. So I think that's something definitely that's going to improve the team a lot. We already know that. We needed a really strong rebounder because I think Siakam's our leading rebounder, probably at like 7 rebounds a game, which is pretty bad, guys. So he's going to greatly improve our defense on that end. And then just protecting the paint in general. So he was an elite defensive player last year, and he's still great this year. Don't get me wrong. But last year, Ivica Zubac made All-NBA, second team All-NBA defense. So if I'm going to go with the comparison here, Miles Turner has never made an all-defensive team, guys. So we're already getting a guy that's better on the you can argue the offensive end, who's better on that end, but a clear upgrade on the defensive end. Zubac is. And it's not even really close. So he's going to be able to anchor the paint. Guys are going to have to think twice about going into Zubac in the paint. I don't think people are really necessarily afraid of Miles in the paint. I know he can block shots, but I don't think it kept guys from really going at him because they know they can body him up or they can push him along. That's why Embiid always went off for like 40 points again. I mean, he still does, even against us now. But we don't have anybody. But with Zubac, it's going to be a little harder, of course. So think about the guys that, like the Mobleys and the Jared Allens will face. Even Towns will present some challenges, but I do think Zubac will be able to guard on Towns a little bit on the perimeter. I don't think he's like just a complete slouch on the perimeter defense, but I think he can somewhat hold his own, which it'll be challenging. But think about like against the Mitchell Robinsons, the Jared Allens, like I said, Evan Mobley-ish type of guys, or even the other big men in this conference that I'm spacing on right now. But you guys can think of them. So he's going to be able to hold his own against those guys a lot, and defensively, it's going to be a game changer. And not even just against those guys, but like I said, just walling off the paint the way he does. So if you go over the advanced numbers right now, he is in the 60th percentile right now in terms of how many points they allow other teams to score per 100 possessions. So if you go off his last year numbers, he was in the 93rd percentile. So clearly explains why he made All-NBA defensive team last year. And then this year, teams are shooting about 0.9 percentage points less from the field whenever he's out on the court. So that's in the 5th percentile. And then offensive rebounding, he prevents, like I was saying earlier, guys, because of his rebounding and the way he's able to wall off the paint, way he's able to block out other guys, keep other guys from getting rebounds because he just takes up so much space. He allows negative 2.6 percentage points less offensive rebounds when he's on the court, which is in the 85th percentile in the NBA. Last year, he was in the 94th percentile, guys. So teams that are playing against them get less offensive rebounds when he's on the court. So that definitely is a tremendous value to our team because we give up way too many offensive rebounds. We see it every game. We give up second chance opportunities like it's nothing. And it really kills a lot of momentum sometimes, guys. And you've seen it in these games if you watched it, where the Pacers could be going on a run, but then all of a sudden the team comes down, they shoot a shot, they get their offensive rebound, shoot a shot, miss again, they get it again, and then they finally hit like a three-pointer off it. And it just kind of kills any run or momentum that you built up until that point. And you just feel it. It sucks the energy out of the team or like just your momentum in general. So the fact he's very elite at that. And then he also, this is what's crazy to me too, guys. He's in the 66th percentile in terms of how often the opposing team gets to the free throw line. And last year, guys, he was in the 100th. Literally the highest you could go. He was probably the best at this then, apparently. Where he allowed negative 7.4 free throw attempts less whenever he was on the court. So they're defending without fouling too, which we already know is a huge problem for our team right now. We always tend to foul on the defensive end. We give up a lot of free throws. And just having a guy like that who's able to play elite defense without fouling and giving up so many free throws as well, that is huge, guys. That is a huge addition, and it really covers up a lot of the weaknesses we have. On the offensive end, especially like I covered with the offensive rebounding and just inside finishing, the pick and roll, like we don't have a strong pick setter right now. And then defensively, how he's just able to wall off the paint. He's able to rebound, of course, which limits second chance opportunities. He's able to defend the rim at a high level too. I didn't even touch on that. He's one of the top rim defenders as well. Even though he doesn't block a lot of shots, but he's able to contest a lot of shots and force a lot of misses. Just the fact that he fills a lot of the holes that we need. So it made complete sense why we traded what we did for him, even if it hurt what we gave up. And that's going to kind of segue into my next segment where I wanted to talk about the pick that we traded. So for 2026 first round pick. So it's hard to kind of look at and be like, wow, we traded the pick. Yes, it's protected 1 through 4, then 10 through 30. So if it falls anywhere from 5 through 9, the Clippers get it, of course. And if they don't, if we keep the pick, let's say, it falls 1 through 4, then they get a 2031 unprotected first round pick from us. So I thought Tony Ace made a great point off this, so I'm sure you guys have already heard it if you listen to his pod. But he was saying how, so let's say hypothetically the Clippers do get the pick. They get the 5 through 9. All right. In a draft that I would argue, I think we'll be in position to where if we do lose it, I don't think it's going to end up at 5. I think it would end up at like 7 through 9. So I think that's a pick you're willing to give up because it's just, I think the guys at that level isn't anything to write home about. I'm not saying they're not great players. It could be. But if you look at past drafts, guys, 5 through 9 is very shaky where it's like, you're lucky if you're getting a guy that's a rotation player at times. Just like, I'm going to say this now with Jarrett Walker. I know he's coming on, but a guy that's kind of on the fringes of our rotation right now. We drafted him 8th, guys. So I'm just saying, I'm trying to not compare it completely because I know draft classes are different, but like, that's the type of player you can maybe expect in that range. So I know it's easy to get enamored with the picks, but I think they protect it in a way where we're not going to miss out on a franchise-changing guy if we get the top 4, of course. And if we land 10 through whatever, we'll at least maybe get a rotation guy. I don't see that even being a possibility, but it's there if we ever happen to fall into that range. But I thought, sorry, I didn't mean to go on this tangent, but I thought Tony made a good point with this where if the Clippers do get the 5 through 9 pick, we get to end up keeping our 2031 pick. So you may wonder, why does that matter? Why does that matter now? We're trying to win now, of course, because we got Zubac. We're all in on this team. The way it matters and the way Tony explained is, so how the NBA works nowadays, you cannot trade multiple first-round picks like in consecutive years. So you can't trade like 2027, 28 together, this or that. You get what I'm saying. But having the 2031 pick again, well, the way Tony explained it is, we have picks that are alternate years because we traded the 2029 pick to the Clippers. So we would have like our 2027 still. We would have 2031 that we would be able to trade. So it would just be another added trade chip in our arsenal that we'd be able to use, if you get what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, it would hurt a lot to lose a pick, especially 5 through 9, even though draft history always says that player is not ever determined to be not even just a star, but even starter level sometimes. It's not even like for sure that they would be that. Into an asset that you could still have that you would be able to chip off. Let's say we needed extra firepower. Let's say we're like, hey, we love our lineup right now, but, and this is, like I said, all contingent on if we somehow don't keep the pick. Ideally, we keep a top 4 pick and we get a franchise-changing guy that we'll be able to build with into the future and still win now with. That's ideal. But I'm saying there's an alternative route where it's like, hey, if we lose it, we still get to keep this asset at least. And that's just more chips we're going to be able to have in our basket for, let's say, if we want to make another trade for somebody else. If you get what I'm saying, wink, wink, in terms of guys that haven't been traded yet. So let's say we start off slow or we see, oh, we got some deficiencies that we need. We need somebody else so that can put the ball in the basket because losing Mathurin in that way is going to hurt because that's a guy that can score from all 3 levels. He can get you a random 27 points in a game 3 of an NBA Finals or just in any regular season game. We're not going to really have that option as much now. I know other guys can kind of get going, but not into that level usually. So let's say like that happens. We're like, man, we need somebody better on the wing. Let's say, I don't know, Nesmith isn't really cutting it out, let's say, or maybe we would think, oh, Nesmith would be better off the bench in that scenario because we don't have a draft pick coming in now. We don't have Mathurin anymore. So we're like, we have a need, or maybe we have to use Nesmith's contract in a trade. Ideally, I would not want to do that. I'm just speaking hypothetically. We could use those assets to then trade for, let's say, like a Trey Murphy. A guy that would be electric on the wing, 6'8" wing, can be a two-way wing in this league. I think he shows a lot more potential. I think he would be a lot better on a different team. So you get what I'm saying, Pacer Nation. I don't think it's the end all be all if we do end up losing the pick. And maybe that's just me trying to rationalize it, but I really don't love any of the guys in that range. Besides maybe that Wagler if he falls to 5, or I don't even like Kingston Fleming's. Like, when is he ever going to have a spot on this team? You know what I mean? It's just like some of these guys, you're okay missing out on, and clearly the front office felt that way. So it's just, I think that it at least keeps you that option. And we already know that this team has completely been built from the trade market. I mean, we traded for Haliburton, we traded for Siakam, we even traded for Neesmith, we traded for Zubac now, we traded for Obi Toppin. So, I mean, how many guys were just not trade guys? I mean, like Furphy and Walker, and those are our 10th man, possibly. Nembhard, of course, has been one of our best draft picks we've had. And then Shepard's barely in the rotation, won't be maybe next year. TJ, we brought in a while back, of course, and signs, but so you get what I'm saying. We built this team a lot through the draft. So I just wanted to paint that picture, guys, and kind of just maybe give you hope and not feel so bad about that aspect of the trade where it's like, man, if we lose that pick, there is still a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think the Pacers thought that too, or like thought ahead in that regard, where they know they at least can use that as a trade chip if they need to really strengthen this team and put us like way over the top if we needed to. Let's say if somehow this team wasn't able to perform at the level we think, we at least have that in our back pocket if we lose that pick. So I thought that was an interesting point that Tony made, and I had no idea about it till I saw that on it or heard it on his podcast. So shout out Tony for pointing that out. That was definitely some good work, and I think it helps put me a little bit more at ease because of how I know our team operates anyways. We're very good with the trade market, so it wouldn't be the absolute worst thing in the world if we lost the pick. But obviously, deep down, I want that pick. I want the top 4 pick. So I think that's how Pacer Nation feels. We'll see how the Pacers feel about that. Are we going to tank out the rest of the year? I think you have to. I mean, obviously, we're going to see Zubac at some point, but I just think that there's no way that you give up that opportunity, especially with these protections now where you basically ensure that you have to make sure you have the best odds to get a top 4 pick. And then it's a coin flip from there, and then you just, whatever happens, happens. But at least, like I said, we have this in our back pocket where we know we're going to still have some other assets to trade if we need to bolster this team and really put us over the hump, if that has to be the case. If not, then we keep our pick, and if we're bad by then, we at least get to use it. So it's a win-win in every kind of scenario you could think about. So then this leads me into my last segment, guys, and I wanted to end on Benn Mathurin because, as you know, if you listen to this podcast, I was a diehard Benn Mathurin fan, still am. I'm going to be cheering for him for the Clippers, and I hope he performs well. But yesterday, with all the trade noise and all that, with all the news going on about the Zubac trade, and my wife and I are scrolling through social media, and we see that the Pacers put out a video package like saying goodbye to Mathurin. So if you guys haven't seen that yet, I advise you to go check it out. But my wife and I, admittedly, we both got kind of emotional about it because, like I said, he was our favorite player on the team, and just even outside of that, like we drafted him 4th or 6th overall, and just our highest draft pick since the 1980s, guys. Like, just think about that. That is mind-boggling to even think that he was the 6th pick was our highest pick since the 1980s. And it wasn't even just about him and just that pick in general, like just because it was our highest pick. It was just the fact that Mathurin was a great dude, and he has all the potential in the world to be anything he probably wants to be in this league, and I'm glad he's going to get that opportunity for the Clippers. So I'm very happy for him, but I just think if you guys haven't checked that video out, I suggest that you go check it out. It was very good, and it just, like I said, it made us feel emotional about it, and then it reminded me of when that year when he was in the draft, when we got the 6th pick, we kind of tanked out the rest of that year a little bit to strengthen our odds to get a higher pick, and we got the 6th. And I remember like looking at draft prospects then, and I was looking at Mathurin, and I was like, man, I hope we get this guy because he is electric. He is a bona fide scorer. He's a super athlete. You hope he can become a great defensive player at the time. He just fit a lot of what we needed and like what we could hope to develop next to Haliburton at the time. And just, I was so excited at the thought of getting him. And then when we drafted him, I was overjoyed. I was just like, wow, we actually got him. Was blown away and just couldn't believe it. And then how he had the awesome rookie year where he just was torching the league right out of the gates, like averaging like 17 to 18 points a game almost his rookie year. It's just, I think he had a lot more special time than what he's being given credit for here. I know he didn't develop or it didn't shake out the way we were hoping for, Pacer Nation, and it's sometimes that's just the way the chips lie, sadly, and I'm still trying to come to grips with that. I'm trying to come to the fact that he got traded, but at least it's going to be best for his career, and it worked out great for us too because we got Zubac. So it's a win-win for both him and then for us as well. It's just I wish it would have worked, but all in all, guys, it's just I wanted to remember the times that he did ball out here. He had some huge games. I always remember that game. Him and Haliburton went off against the Knicks during the regular season last year, and then just what he did in Game 7, or not Game 7. Well, Game 7 too, of the NBA Finals. But then what he did in Game 3, where he had 27 points, and just I'll never forget those moments, guys. He'll go down as one of my favorite Pacers of all time. I would say he'll be in my top 5 for sure. And just I don't know. I just wanted to give him his flowers and just remember that he did provide a lot of great moments, even if he did have a lot of mistakes in between then. I just think a lot of times we focus on what players don't do, and we just don't give enough credit to what they did provide. So I just wanted to end the show on that, guys. I just wanted to give him his flowers, and I wish nothing but the best for Mathurin and for the Clippers. And I think that he's going to really show that fan base why they'll love him. I just think they'll love his energy, like the fire that he plays with. Even if he'll make his lapses on defense, hopefully he improves that. They got a great defensive coach over there, so maybe they'll be able to get the best out of him on that end. That's what I would hope to. But all in all, guys, just let me know what you guys think about the Zubac trade still in the comments. I know we're also kind of reeling from it and gathering it in our thoughts. And what do you think about the pick, us trading our pick and the protections on it? What do you think about what I was talking about earlier? If we do lose the pick and we still get our 2031 pick back, do you think we could use that as a trade chip or just keep it and draft somebody if we're bad by then? Who knows? But let me know what you guys think in the YouTube comments. Always please like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. And if you guys could always please leave a 5-star review on your listening platforms, on your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any other platform. I always appreciate it, guys. And I can't thank you enough. I always enjoy talking with you guys in the comments. It's a lot of fun and just getting your thoughts on the team. I really, really appreciate you guys watching and listening. I hope you guys know how much it means to me. But until next time, Pacer Nation, I will talk to you soon.